coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
Rapid testing for COVID-19, a plan to get middle and high school students back to class, and a major announcement from the superintendent. We begin this afternoon with several developments from today's Columbia School Board meeting. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jim Rick. Thanks for joining us. We have team coverage from that meeting. KOMU 8's Ashley Wright is in the newsroom with more on rapid testing. But first, we head to KOMU 8's Noah Klein, who is live at the district headquarters with the superintendent's announcement.
Jim, dozens of parents and even some middle and high school students were at that meeting today. They were trying to put pressure on the Columbia School Board to reopen all schools in the district. Now, the board did not take that action, but one big thing we did learn today. Columbia Public Schools Superintendent Peter Stiepelman is retiring after 16 years with the district. Stiepelman has served as superintendent since 2014. He said his decision had nothing to do with challenges of leading the district through the pandemic. One takeaway from the announcement, Stiepelman said, since he has rarely taken a sick day in his 16 years, he is eligible for some extra money. Money, he says, will not go to waste.
In fact, I'm eligible to receive about $50,000 because over the last 16 years, I've almost never needed to take a sick day. I know I was born with blessings, and I have an obligation to share those blessings with others. So, I will be donating that money, all $50,000, to 3 areas.
Those 3 areas include the Columbia CPS Japan Connection, the Nature School, and the Como Ed Future Teacher Program. Now, as for the rest of the meeting, the board did decide they will take up reopening middle and high schools at the board meeting on November 9th. Now, there are 2 options there. It includes both a 2-day and a 4-day return to in-person classes. Now, we'll be sure to follow that meeting when it happens, bring any developments over on KOMU.com and, of course, in our newscasts. Reporting live in Columbia, Noah Klein, KOMU 8 News.
That is generosity. The district is now looking at ways to test staff and students for COVID-19. KOMU 8's Ashley Wright is in the newsroom to tell us what rapid testing means.
During this morning's meeting, the school board work session, Superintendent Peter Stiepelman introduced a rapid antigen testing program, and the plans are to give parents an option to get their students tested, whether that student is showing COVID-19 related symptoms. According to the CDC, school-aged children seem to be at lower risk for contracting the coronavirus compared to adults. However, the CDC also says reopening should have a plan in case students or staff test positive. One physician's assistant says, though kids may be at lower risk, testing could be useful for teachers.
I think rapid testing is actually more beneficial for the teachers, just in case that you do have a teacher that is high risk. It would be helpful to know whether they would need to substitute out that teacher for the day.
Stiepelman says parental consent would be essential for children needing to be tested. In the newsroom, Ashley Wright, KOMU 8 News.
Temperatures are about 30 to even close to 40 degrees warmer than this time yesterday across the state. 37 degrees warmer in Kansas City, 30 degrees warmer here in Columbia, and that's with a current temperature of 83 degrees. Now, that is shy of a record. Our current record is going to hold at 88 degrees, but look up to the northwest. It's 41 degrees in Lincoln, 54 in Salina. There's a cold front there, and that's going to move through as we go through the overnight hours. So get outside, enjoy the last few hours of sunshine and the warmth, because we're not going to experience temperatures this warm for at least some time here. Temperatures in the 70s by 7 p.m., 68 at midnight, and then we'll see that temperature fall to the middle 40s tomorrow. We'll track it all for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much. Here are the newest numbers. Boone County reported 27 new cases today. 348 are active. There are now 87 COVID-19 patients hospitalized in Boone County. Only 16 of those are Boone County residents. Callaway County reported 2 new cases today with 103 active. Note, Callaway is no longer reporting cases from the Department of Corrections. Missouri reported more than 1,800 cases and 16 new deaths in the past 24 hours. Here's what's happening right now. The Marys County R1 school district says it is moving classes online because of an increase in cases and close contacts in the district. The district says it will close starting tomorrow and hopes to reopen November 2nd. The Phelps Marys County Health Department says it's working on contact tracing and hopes to finish within the next 48 hours. The CDC has updated what it considers close contact. Original guidelines defined it as spending 15 minutes within 6 feet of someone who tested positive. Now the CDC says close contact can mean shorter periods that add up to a total of 15 minutes over a 24-hour period. The CDC still says if you get in close contact with someone who tests positive, you should quarantine for 2 weeks. Amy Coney Barrett's nomination to become a justice on the Supreme Court is moving to the full Senate. The Senate Judiciary Committee voted 12-0 in her favor. 10 Democrats on the committee boycotted the vote. Instead, the chairs where Democrats would have been seated were filled with pictures of Americans they say will lose health care coverage if the Affordable Care Act is overturned. The chair, Lindsey Graham, said today's vote would have happened with or without the Democrats.
Our Democratic colleagues informed the committee last night that they will not participate in the hearing. That was their choice. It will be my choice to vote the nominee out of committee. We're not going to allow them to take over the committee.
I will be voting against Judge Barrett on the floor. But between now and then, Democrats on this committee and across our caucus will continue to make the case about what's at stake for the American people if Judge Barrett is confirmed.
The vote heads to the Senate floor on Monday. You are taking a live look at the Curb Event Center at Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. There, President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden are getting ready to face off one final time before the election. It's the first time the two candidates will go head-to-head since the first debate 3 weeks ago, and things will be different. The Debate Commission announced it will mute opponents' mics during each candidate's 2-minute opening statement, but both mics will be open for the rest of each 15-minute segment. NBC's Kristen Welker will moderate the debate. You can watch it right here on KOMU starting at 8 p.m. Members of Congress got a briefing today about foreign interference in the upcoming election. It comes after many Democratic voters say they received intimidating emails. NBC's Susan McGinnis reports.
On Capitol Hill today, U.S. intelligence officials briefing lawmakers on attempts by Iran and Russia to meddle with the 2020 election by trying to create chaos and fear among American voters.
It's definitely a situation where voters beware.
Two U.S. intelligence officials tell NBC News the Trump administration has known for weeks Iran and Russia hacked local governments and obtained voter registration and other personal data. Iran apparently used that data to send threatening emails to Democrats in battleground states, warning, you will vote for Trump or we will come after you.
Is there something that I did to receive this email?
This University of Florida student was frightened enough to ask not to be identified. The emails, which contained personal information, seemed to be coming from the far-right group known as the Proud Boys. But in an announcement last night, the Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, placed the blame on Iran, but released little detail about what happened and how the intelligence community caught on.
These actions are desperate attempts by desperate adversaries. Know that our election systems are resilient, and you can be confident your votes are secure.
FBI Director Christopher Wray also assuring Americans that their votes will be safe, seeming to contradict repeated baseless claims, some from President Trump himself, that the final tally can't be trusted. Susan McGinnis, NBC News, Washington.
Coming up, we talked to Missouri Senator Josh Hawley about the stimulus package stuck in Congress, plus what expanding CARES Act funding, how a mid-Missouri business plans to use it.
The official high temperature today, 85, the record 88, so we didn't break it. Much colder tomorrow. Details coming up.
And you're taking a live look over the Missouri River at Roachport on this Thursday afternoon. It's 5:08. This is KOMU 8 News, first at 5. Coverage you can count on. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley says he believes if a relief package gets to the president's desk, it will be signed. Today, KOMU8 spoke with Hawley about the package. The Republican blamed Democrats as the reason the deal hasn't passed yet.
I don't have a lot of confidence. I think this is mostly about the presidential election. I think my Democrat colleagues have decided that they would rather there be no package no relief before the presidential election so they can blame Trump, which I think is stupid and short-sighted.
According to CNBC, Democrats accuse the GOP of failing to recognize the magnitude of the economic and health crisis. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has called the Republican plan partisan. A Minnesota judge has dropped the lesser murder charge against a former Minneapolis police officer accused in the death of George Floyd. The third-degree murder charge against Derek Chauvin has been dropped, although the higher second-degree charge remains. Chauvin is also charged with second-degree manslaughter. He was captured on video with his knee on Floyd's neck for more than 8 minutes. The judge has more decisions ahead, like whether the three officers will be tried together or if there will be a change of venue. Matt.
Here comes our cold front. It's 36 in Kearney, Nebraska, 86 in Wichita. Between that is where the front lies. Tracking that coming up.
More Missouri child care providers are eligible for CARES Act funding. Governor Parson announced he's allocating about $10 million for daycares affected by the virus. The owner of Columbia's Tiger Tots plans to use the money mostly for early expenses posed by the pandemic. He also says his school has ongoing costs like providing additional internet for online learning.
We've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on thermometers. We've spent over $1,000 on extra internet. So there's been a lot of additional costs as well as just stress involved, of course, throughout all this.
The additional funding is to help cover losses from March through the end of the year. Matt.
Well, when the clock strikes midnight tonight, we are going to hit our high temperature for Friday, and that temperature is going to be in the upper 60s. Most of you are never going to feel those lower 60s to middle 60s to even upper 60s through the day because those temperatures are going to plummet. By 6 a.m., we're in the middle 50s. Rain starting to move in as well, continuing through the midday hours. By noon, we're at 45 degrees. We'll slowly recover into the middle to upper 40s in the afternoon, but by the time those high school football celebrations start to kick off, 46 degrees at 6 p.m., cloudy skies, and it is going to be chilly. You can see the wind chill effect as well. Here is 5 a.m. Waking up meteorologist Tim Schmidt going to be tracking this cold front as it cuts through the viewing area, feeling like the upper 60s in our eastern counties near Rolla Vichy. 52 is what it's going to feel like in Columbia. Meanwhile, it's going to feel like 35 in Brunswick. So don't be fooled if you're headed out the door early in the morning. It's going to feel warmer than it will the rest of the day. By 8 a.m., feeling like the middle 30s as that cooler air continues to push in. Into the afternoon, feeling a little better in the low 40s. We'll get to those middle 40s in the afternoon, but by the time those games are well in progress, 8 p.m., feeling like the middle to upper 30s across the region. So certainly going to want the layers, the blankets, the hats and gloves at those high school games, and that is a big contrast to what we're seeing right now across central Missouri. It's 85 in Jefferson City, 80 in Fulton, 80 in Moberly, and 81 in Tipton. Winds breezy out of the south. That's been responsible for pulling in this cool air through the day. Those winds currently out of the south sustained at 16 miles per hour, but you can see this shift here. Salina, Kansas, those winds out of the north, that's where that cold front is, and that cold front going to continue to push south through the next several hours. Here's 3 a.m. It's starting to make its way into the viewing area. Some showers behind this. Those showers do move in for your morning commute and will continue off and on through the midday hours into the afternoon. Certainly a day to have the umbrella handy. Thunderstorms not expected, just good old rainfall, but it's going to be a cold rain at that. That finally moves off to the east, and we'll see that cloud cover breaking up as we go into our Friday night. Saturday, a mix of sunshine and cloud cover through the day. The Mizzou Tigers playing in the afternoon. Temperatures for kickoff in the lower 50s will fall into the 40s for the end of that game. By Sunday, looking a little bit cooler now in the middle 50s as we see some late day rain showers back in the forecast. Again, another cold, rainy day for us. So some sunshine on Saturday, cloud cover back with us Sunday. Those showers moving in for the afternoon and evening. Continuing into Monday, more off and on showers. But look what happens as we head into Tuesday. You can see this blue shading across northern parts of our viewing area. That is the potential for at least a few snowflakes or a little bit of sleet to mix in with that rainfall. It is not going to accumulate. It is not going to cause issues, but it is something that we'll be watching. So stay with us as we continue to watch that. Potentially the first mix of the season could fall across localized areas. 45 for tonight. That really happens in the mid-morning hours tomorrow. We get up to 47 in the afternoon. We're in the 50s on Saturday and Sunday. Potentially a mix early in the morning Tuesday. We'll recover to the low 40s, back to the 50s for the middle and end of next week.
Happening right now, we've just learned Columbia police have made an arrest in a fatal crash that happened on Sunday. 63-year-old James Pittard is charged in connection with a deadly crash on Paris Road. He's facing involuntary manslaughter charges and leaving the scene of an accident, among others. He's also accused of being drunk while driving when he was stopped and arrested yesterday. Coming up, the storefront looks pretty normal from the outside, but there's news on the inside that's a bit troubling.
Ahead for us, one of the last airlines to block off middle seats because of the pandemic, ready to sell them again. The new science that may support them. Plus, we'll meet the hero cop and see how his body cam captured a fiery, life-saving rescue on Nightly News.
Southwest Airlines says it will no longer limit the number of seats for sale on each flight. Starting December 1st, Southwest will begin opening up middle seats so flights can be full again. Ticket sales have been limited because of COVID-19. American and United have already returned to selling full flights. The new announcement comes the same day Southwest announced a third-quarter loss of $1.2 billion. QB is shutting down just 6 months after its debut. Wall Street had big bets for the short-form streaming service that was optimized for phones. CNBC predicted the company would have 7 million subscribers after its first year, but as of a few weeks ago, it only had about 500,000 subscribers. After nearly 160 years of holiday tradition is coming to an end. Macy's Santa will not be greeting kids at the flagship New York store because of the pandemic. The company says nearly 250,000 shoppers come to the store to see Santa each year. A crowd that size would be difficult to keep social distancing. Instead, Macy's is offering a free online experience with Santa starting in late November. A final check of the forecast when we come back. The Columbia School Board held a work session today. KOMU 8's Noah Klein joins us live with a recap of our top story.
Jim, there were dozens of parents and even some middle and high school students at that meeting today. They were trying to put some pressure on the school board to reopen all schools across the district. Now, the board did not make that decision today, but we did learn one thing from that meeting. CPS Superintendent Peter Stiepelman will retire. Now, we do know that Stiepelman did make that decision before the pandemic. He said the pandemic and his leadership through that time had nothing to do with his decision to retire. I'll have more on Stiepelman's message coming up tonight at 6. Reporting live in Columbia, Noah Klein, KOMU 8 News.
Also coming up on KOMU 8 News at 6, it's a heated race between Caleb Rowden and Judy Baker for the state Senate. A look at their opposing views on health care and the pandemic coming up at 6 o'clock. Matt.
We are in the 80s right now, but we will not be for much longer. Temperatures tomorrow morning falling through the morning hours, eventually reaching the middle 40s. We'll get back up to the middle to upper 40s in the afternoon. Cloudy skies, rainy conditions, a little bit warmer through the weekend, then cooler again next week.
What was our high today?
85 degrees.
Did that set a record?
No, the record was 88, 1899.
I wasn't here, man.
On air, online, on Facebook and Twitter, on the News app, on the Weather app, and now on Roku. KOMU 8 News. Coverage you can count on.